Springfield took their $600 pistol, simplified the machining, and dropped its price under $500 and somehow didn't make it worse. That's the Springfield Armory Echelon Alpha, and that basically never happens anymore. It seems like every other gun manufacturer wants to charge you more money, but putting more holes in the slide and more holes in the barrel. And don't get me wrong, Springfield Armory is as guilty as anybody of that as well. But this time they went a different direction, and I want to show you exactly what that's going to get you and where it bites as well. A real quick acknowledgement up front, Springfield did send this pistol in for video, but stick around for the negatives. I'm not gonna pull any punches. You're gonna know exactly how I feel about the pistol by the time this video is over. So how reasonable a pistol are we talking? Well, the full price Springfield Armory Echelon 4.0C sells for just over $600 in the 2Q26 timeframe, whereas the Echelon Alpha is going to sell for just under $500. It's only a penny less than $500, but that counts in retailer world. And that price is likely to be in the mid-4s before we know it. So the Springfield Armory Prodigy, which I bought new for $1,400 on day one to make content with, that price now is about $1,200. So there is a really strong potential that this gun will be selling in the mid-4s, maybe even low 4s before we know it. And at that price, it's a heck of a pistol. So let's talk about what you give up by going from the full price 4.0C to the Alpha. And the answer is really not much. The box it comes in is as cheap as they could make it, and they got rid of the zipper pouch that nobody used anyway. The extra VIS pins, which allow you to mount different optics, those are gone. It just comes with one set for RMR. The front sight is white rather than a night sight with a high-vis yellow front sight, and they trimmed the magazine count down from 2 to 1 magazines, so the Alpha only comes with one 15-round magazine. Another thing that you can notice, but honestly doesn't matter much, is the machining on the Echelon slide. I've called it some of the best machining on a modern striker pistol slide. I still stand by that. I think it's excellent. They've dumbed it down to a more utilitarian look. I don't think it gives up much aesthetically, and it certainly doesn't give up anything functionally. So it's not as high speed looking, but it performs exactly the same. It takes the same central operating group as Springfield calls it. That's their FCU. So that's the same as the full speed Echelon. Takes the same accessories, takes the same grips, and the accuracy was dead on when I was zeroing the pistol. This is the Echelon Alpha. This is zeroing at 25 yards. Need to put some left in there, but elevation's good. But that's not a bad size group. And that's a shout out to Buffalo Creek Ammo for keeping the guns fed. That's their new 124 grain, which shoots super nice. So what's all that mean behind the gun? It shoots the exact same. You can't really tell a difference between the two. If you're a dot shooter, you're not even looking at the front sight. You don't even know that it's gone. And when you manipulate the gun, you can't really tell a difference. But they're not the only value play chassis gun in town. There's also the Ruger RXM. The Ruger RXM is in the Glock ecosystem. It's basically a Glock Gen 3 19. I bought this for $400 when they first came out, and they're selling for in the mid-3s now, so it's a good value play as well. So how does the RXM stack up to the Alpha? The trigger goes to the Echelon. Echelon's got a better trigger, not by a mile, but it's more predictable, which makes it a little bit nicer. The grip texture also goes to the Echelon, but the grip shape, I would say, goes to the RXM. The RXM just feels a little bit more slippery. Texture is not amazing, but both of these guns are chassis guns, so you can swap to aftermarket grips if you choose to. If you want to spend stupid money, like Mischief Machine is making like $375 grips for the Echelon, and they might be doing them for the RXM now as well. They're super high quality. I've got a buddy who's done that and says that the Echelon is now his favorite striker pistol because he has that grip on it. Now the guns weigh about the same, which, because physics is a theme, means that they shoot about the same because they're shooting the same ammo. But the Echelon just feels like a nicer pistol. It's got better machining on the slide, very deep serrations versus the super shallow, like short ones on the RXM. The coating feels more premium on the slide. So the Alpha does feel like a little bit nicer pistol, which is why it is positioned with more cost. The RXM is honestly a great pistol. I mean, it gives you a lot of that Glock experience. It just doesn't feel like a high dollar pistol. And that's not the RXM's fault, because if you watch my Glock 17 Gen 6 video, that's a great pistol that just feels super cheap. And this is a clone of that pistol, so it also feels super cheap. All right, so let's hit on the negatives. And you may have noticed in the shooting footage already that the slide isn't locking back. And that's not really the gun's fault, that's my fault because of how I'm gripping it. The slide release is right there, which is where my thumb naturally wants to sit being a 2011 shooter. And when the grip, which just is kind of thin on the top of it, like my full-size Echelon, I've got the large grip with the large backstrap, and that helped a lot. But this is the standard backstrap that came on the gun, and it's just too small for my size XL hands. So it's like kind of like a clown car trying to get all my meat behind the gun, and I'm just riding the slide stop as a result. And that slide stop is super stiff. That's probably going to wear in as the slide stop kind of rounds off its edges from getting used. It's going to go away, but there's that issue out of the box. Point is, all of those issues are me issues as I'm getting onto the gun, but because it is in the modular sort of ecosystem, there is kind of a save for it. And that's where this gets interesting. We looked at the Mischief Machine Commander module, and that's like $375, but what if you want to fix the ergos for a lot less? I want to show you something called the Magmo Edge. That's MAG-MO. You got to keep the hyphen in there or you can't find it. They're on Pewcentric. They make these things in different textures and different weights that are built to your hand on the grip so that your fingertips basically come right to the edge of where the grip is. And then your support hand has all this real estate with, this has got silicon carbide texture on it and just massive control over the gun. Like I can do cool guy stuff with the gun now because the gun actually fits my hands, whereas with the base grip module, it doesn't really. The mag release is also a little bit difficult to reach. Like you can get to it, but it's just all the way at the front of the grip, really far up there. So you have to shift the gun in your grip to get onto it. They've got a paddle release called the drop that basically super easy to get on. But also that's kind of the promise and the point of these chassis guns is you can take what, you know, the manufacturer imagines and you can really kind of make it your own, whether it's with a high-end grip module or just bolting on some stuff to make it work for you, which is kind of what the Magmo does. And honestly, this is fantastic. So the Alpha isn't launching in a vacuum. It's launching into a pretty mature ecosystem with lots of holsters, lots of support, lots of parts all ready to go. So the Alpha or the full speed Echelon, honestly, unless you really need the night sights, that Alpha pretty much does everything else. You just have to buy magazines for it. I kind of love the dumbed down box too, because there's no impetus to keep it in your closet taking up space. You can just recycle it and go on with your life. The RXM versus the Alpha, that's going to come down to you and which ecosystem you want to live in. As I mentioned, the Alpha is a little bit nicer pistol as far as the functionality, cuts, everything like that. They're both reliable pistols, but the RXM is in the Glock ecosystem and it's less expensive, so make your call. But that leaves me where I always leave you, which is you need to go into the gun store and put the guns in your hands and see if they're gonna work for you or not. Don't take mine or anybody else. I don't care how honest they are or whatever. It's like listening to somebody on the internet describe how a shoe fits their foot and you're generalizing that to understand how it's going to fit your foot too. It doesn't matter until you actually experience it. Now, I would not carry a 4.0C without that Magmo kind of grip extension on it because then it fits my hands well and I'm not leaving any performance on the table. Out of the box, just the grip module doesn't work great for my hands. But that modularity makes it an easy bridge to cross and underneath it is a fine pistol. So now that you watched this video, go watch this one as well. I'm sure you'll love it.